get to the shortages of things out there, energy is key.
Yep.
And I am very much an environmentalist at heart. I launched a private equity firm this year that focuses on mitigating environmental impacts. It's a niche business that I love. And so coming from an environmentalist, what I'm trying to tell you is the virtue signaling of going from hydrocarbon-based fuel to alternative methods, whether it be wind, solar, et al., cannot be achieved in a few short years. The galaxy brains that are running things think we can just flip the switch, throw up some more windmills, some more solar, find some more places to put hydro up, and we'll just switch. It takes 40 to 50 years for new fuels to take over at least 30% of the global fuel world. When you look back to how coal entered the world, how natural gas entered the world, these things take multiple decades. And so what we effectively did 7 years ago is we said, less fracking, and now it's no drilling on federal lands, and now it's no more interstate pipelines. We just decided we're just going to turn off hydrocarbons. And what those people don't understand is hydrocarbon demand is inelastic. The world continues to grow due to the largesse of a lot of these central banks flooding the world with liquidity and growth. And now the world's about to reopen from COVID. And when it reopens, global demand for crude is going to blast right through, we think 105, 106 million barrels a day. And the crude complex can't possibly pump that much. So the same phenomenon that took the front end of the curve negative when there was just a glut with nowhere to put it, there's going to be a demand out there that can't be satiated by physical supply. So the front end is going to go crazy again. We are certain to see $100 crude in the near future. And those options have been trading in DEES 22 for $200. Now, I'm not buying those options, but they are trading, just to let you know. So I think other people are seeing what I'm talking about here. And let me give you some insight.
Did you say the December 2022 contracts at $200 WTI? I didn't.
Yeah. 1,800 of them traded just a couple days ago.
You didn't put that on the tape just so you could say that, did you?
I did. I did. No. I put it on the Twitter tape. I was not the buyer of that tape. No.
I'm kidding.
No. Money. So the mutual fund money stopped buying energy stocks because of ESG, either mandate or discussions 6, 7 years ago. And then you still had big private equity, and you had investors that were global pension funds and endowments. Big institutional investors were still plowing money into the private sector of energy venture capital and energy private equity for development. And if you aggregate wholly owned companies that some of these private VCs and energy private equity firms have, they rival Exxon. Quantum Energy down in Houston, if you add all of their drilling rigs together of all the companies they wholly own, they're the second largest driller in North America. Wow. And you probably never heard of them before.
No.
The point being is that was a huge engine for maintaining our production levels in America, maybe growing them a little bit. And then now what you've seen just recently, even though pricing now, natural gas has gone from 2 to 6 in the US, oil has gone from 35, 40 to 80. And you should see more rigs popping up, more companies drilling, and you should see money being invested into the sector. And in fact, they're treating it like the plague. Some of those big institutional investors that have never wavered because they've made so much money with these private equity firms are now in the new private equity firms' funds. They're disappearing. The top 5 investors are saying we can no longer do this. So it's counterintuitive. At this moment in time, the ROEs on these projects are so enormous, but there's very little money in the space. And in fact, it's running the other way right now, again, because we have virtue signaling and ESG mandates where these boards of even the big pension funds and the big endowments are just saying, sorry, our board's saying no more hydrocarbons. We need to do more wind and solar. Well, that is setting the market up for a crazy shortage of hydrocarbons this winter. So I think this winter is going to be very difficult. And as you know, natural gas tripling makes the cost of fertilizer almost triple, which makes the cost of food skyrocket even more. So you're about to see food prices continue to rip, and you're going to see wages move, and you're have shortages of truck drivers and shortages of this and that because people don't want to work anymore. You're going to have to incentivize them to work, which means you're going to have to pay them a lot more. So I think you're going to see a Q3 stagflation on steroids in the next 6 months.
Pick up their face away from the phone. I mean, if you notice, everyone walks around staring at the phone. I mean, they'll be at a tourist site or something with their family, and all 4 family members are looking at the phone. It's bizarre to me.
So
but my
sad.
point is, think about it. You know, look at the things that you're paying for in your life, and every shop that you go to says costs are going up. Can't find any labor. Got to pay people more. Going to have to raise prices. I don't know what I'm going to do. So this is going on in the collective
Absolutely.
society, and so nobody's going to protect you. That's the sad thing in life, is that nobody's looking out for you.
No one's going to protect you, just yourself. So what are the sectors that you're liking today, E.B. Tucker?
So the subtitle of the book is The War Against Your Wealth and How to Win It. Everybody misses that. They're like, this is what is this, a book about gold? It's not really about gold, because gold is just one thing. I mean, it's one tiny thing. But what people need to see is that you have this kind of erosion to all this money that you've saved up because you're trying to have a better life. And eventually you don't want to go to work in the cube every day. You want to do something that you want to do. You know, you don't want to go and live this life anymore. And so that's what people need to see is kind of under attack. And a lot of people have money in stocks right now, but the stock market is not doing that great. I mean, you see the index is doing okay, right? Carried by a couple of big companies, but the actual individual stocks are not doing that great. And so when you look at this scenario, you see that we're stalling out right now. And then something drastic has got to happen. And so now's the time where you want some safety. And safety has been out of favor. So everybody says, oh, I'm a contrarian, you know, but really most people are not. You know, they're itchy. That what happens is they're always moving. And so I bought this stock Tuesday and it's not done anything, and I got to get rid of it. You know, I mean, that's the way people think, because believe me, you know, I have a company where I've put most of my life savings that I'm very happy with, that owns, you know, decades of gold royalty production in the ground, right, with Metalla. And I see the emails that come into the info line of people, what's wrong with this company? And you think, you guys, I mean, you got 40, 50 years of future gold production that somebody else is going to do all the work. And listen to these mining companies. All the costs are going up, but we already bought the royalty. So there's no more cost. That's it. So
let's talk energy. You mentioned Europe, the crisis in Europe, how they're going to have to be perhaps counting on Russia this winter to get them through the winter and heat their homes. We see the coal shortage in China now hitting India. Let's talk this energy crisis that seems to be affecting the world.
Yeah. Well, you had 5 or 6 years where you got everybody kind of whipped up into a frenzy about carbon. I mean, I was reading on Bloomberg this weekend, 70% of people in the world that they surveyed think that carbon emissions are going to personally affect their life. So it's become a black eye investment that you could put with vices and cigarettes and all these things to buy an energy stock in the last kind of half decade. And so what that means is there's been a lack of investment in that business. And now all of a sudden you have rising demand and everybody needs energy to do stuff, because with Nova royalty, we have copper and nickel royalties, which I'm very optimistic on, because you need just so many pounds of copper that you can't even fathom the amount, and they don't even know how to produce it to hook up the green energy movement, right? It's not possible without this, and you need nickel for the batteries to store the energy, okay? And so that's not in place yet. And so to get that done, you need lots of hydrocarbon energy, you know, to make that transition. And so you've starved that business. And so now oil's over $80. It's probably going to go to $100. So if you ask what's oil going to look like in 20 years, the demand is probably going to be less than it is today. But what's oil going to look like in 20 months? Still a major part of what we do. So, I mean, personally, I bought some energy stocks. I bought some for my kids last year during the pandemic. I mean, they got really cheap, like unbelievably cheap. And now they're paying huge dividends and going up a lot. But this is what people don't understand. Price of gas is not coming down. Price of natural gas to heat your home is not coming down. The price of oil is not coming down, period. It's going higher, much higher.
So, we're always told follow the money. Is carbon credits going to be the new hot sector then, EB?
I think so. And I think there's enthusiasm. We're talking about we can't get anybody to buy gold. You look over on the carbon credit side of the world, which I don't want to say this too fast, because a lot of people are still trying to figure out what a carbon credit is.
Yeah.
But basically it's the right to emit carbon into the air. And what happens is someone that's capturing carbon sells the right to someone that's emitting carbon. That's called a carbon credit. So that's becoming a real marketplace that's very viable, that there's projects all around the world. And that's a business that I think is somewhat attached to the green energy movement. It's a part of it.
Definitely one to watch. Final thoughts, EB. You said the gold forecast out the window for this year. So you think we just end the year around this price, or?
Well, I think you just give up trying to say it, because you have the most logical thing happens, and then you look at the price and it's stuck. But let's leave people with this. I mean, what you got to do is you got to realize, Richard Russell wrote this great essay years ago about the difference between a rich person and then a person that just has some money. There's a big difference. The rich person has patience. The rich person is looking for value and opportunities to buy something that's a little bit out of favor, that's coming into favor. And try to think about that. The person that just has some money is shifting around from here to there. They're generating a lot of losses, and ultimately they lose that money. So, I mean, try to think like a wealthy person, because if you're paying attention to this video now, you're on the way to doing that. And so start thinking and acting like that person. And just know that when we started Metallo Royalty, ticker symbol MTA, we wanted 30, 40 years of gold production into the future with no exposure to inflation. And so what happens is you go straight up like this. As the gold price goes up, your income balloons. And that's what we were thinking. It's important to know that. So,
well, like you said, we live in a world of, looking down, instant gratification. I want my returns fast, quick. What's going to get me there? What you do. What you don't want to do is follow all those people that are staring. You ever walk down the street, people run right into you and they're staring at the phone. Okay, so that's what these investors are doing, that are shifting around. I got to sell this now. I got to go here. I got to go here. You're going to lose everything. Believe me. This is not how you make money in life. This is what happens when you're speculating. It's high turnover. I mean, I'm speaking from experience. I was around for the 2000, bubble and down. I was fairly young, but I was not, I was old enough to have a brokerage account, and I was playing in this. And I distinctly remember everybody was giving you a stock tip. You were buying something what does a company do? I don't know, but it's going to be big. This was the type of attitude that we had. And most of this ended in tears. And so I'm not saying this is an exact carbon copy, but what I'm saying is you got to buy things when it comes to your investment dollars that you like where this is headed. You got to say, like, I like where this is going. And that's what we did with Metallo. That's what we did with Nova Royalty, with copper and nickel. That trades in the US, NOVRF. And that's what we're going to do in more areas of the green energy space, because these are trillion-dollar trends that are just getting started. Keep us posted.
Really big.